inside of Malmedy. They're so tight once again. It was
Hello everybody and welcome to the RaceRoom Ranked Championship for round 3 here at Zandvoort. We are halfway in this championship now, which is really hotting up of course, so what better place to come than here at Zandvoort. We're in the sand dunes of the Netherlands, just outside of Amsterdam, for this 14-corner roller coaster where we'll have 3 magnificent races all over again, as we have had at the Nürburgring and Spa so far. It's time for the drivers to step up once again as we go racing in Europe for one final time before our finale at Watkins Glen in just 2 weeks' time. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'll be alongside Cam Roger for this one. And Cam, the question when the F1 comes here is always, can they overtake? And the answer is always no. But I have a feeling the answer is not going to be no here tonight for these 3 races.
Absolutely, these cars are a little bit more designed for this track, and also the older version of Zandvoort as well, pre the changes in 2021 and 2020. So yeah, hopefully some nice amount of racing today, especially in this Rookies Cup. This M235i certainly showing very good in the first 2 races of the season.
Absolutely. Let's just introduce you to what the RaceRoom Ranked Championship is, in case you've not been with us for the first two rounds. There are 3 races going to be happening here tonight. You can see Rookie, Am and Pro there on your screens. First of all, we've got the BMW M235i Rookie Cup coming up. That is a very short 15-minute race, a bit of a dash to start us off with. Then we've got the GT4 Trophy for the AM category. You can see there, that's a 20-minute race. And then finally, the Pro race, the GT3 Pro Series, which is a half-an-hour race. All of those 3 races preceded by a 10-minute qualifying. And all of them, of course, sorted on the rank of these drivers, the rating of these drivers given to them by RaceRoom itself. You obviously build that up doing ranked races and so on. You can build your rank up, and you can bring it down as well if you get things a bit wrong. So these guys have been sorted, and we'll be seeing the very best drivers tonight, because we'll be covering the gold servers once more. There are silver and bronze servers going on as well. They're also scoring points for the championship, but we don't cover those because they're happening simultaneously, and we'll be here watching the gold drivers. We've had a lot of fun watching the gold drivers over those previous 2 weeks here, Cam. Nürburgring and Spa-Francorchamps, but there's been only one winner. Ilya Drovosikov has been the man to watch so far. Is he going to be the man to watch again here tonight? It seems to be that that's going to be the case once again.
Absolutely. In the practice session in the background, he is looking very good as well. Got a couple of tenths, which is what we've seen so far. I guess the main point here for him is that his gap in the quali doesn't always represent the gap in the race. The pack behind are generally a bit closer. It's just, can you get ahead of him and then fight with him throughout the whole race to make sure he doesn't get that lead? Because if you get 2-3 seconds in the lead, it gets very comfortable, and it's very difficult to overcome that.
It certainly is. You can see there, 2 weeks time, Watkins Glen. Me and Cam will be back with you once more for the final round of this RaceRoom Ranked Championship, and as always with a penultimate race of a championship, this is all about setting yourself up for that final race. As I mentioned, Drovosikov has got the maximum 40 points from both of the first 2 rounds of this championship. Enzo Guibert's second position from him for the Frenchman. 2 podiums for him so far. Second at the Nürburgring and a third 2 weeks ago at Spa. But he's still 16 points adrift from the Swiss driver out front. And then Miha Neg as well is in third position from Romania, 26 points adrift. And then you've got Emmanuel Lopez and Daniel Parvan rounding out your top 5. You need to be within 40 points of the championship leader by the end of today if you want to be in contention for this title by the time we get to Watkins Glen. 10 minutes of qualifying here, Cam. You mentioned briefly there that we've got our new, the old kind of version that was used up until 2019. You see 15 corners around here. How do you think the lack of banking, though, is going to really change the racing here today, but not only in this category, but in all 3 races that we're going to see?
I don't know, this corner that they're coming into now, sort of turn 3 area, I don't think it's going to change too much there, but coming through the final corner, it is a massive difference. We were just discussing this before we came on air. The core, it is an actual corner that you have to go through. Whereas obviously in the more modern version with the actual banking, it kind of turns into the straight. It elongates that straight a little bit more. You don't really think about the corner, whereas now it is a legitimate corner, and we will see some cars, hanging their tail out, trying to stay as close to flat as possible. So I think it's actually going to be more challenging for these guys, and therefore, if there's a few mistakes going on, especially in these lower powered cars, if you lose that momentum, then you are going to be able to get a run on someone coming down towards turn one. So I think it's going to be a very interesting part of the track, actually.
It will be indeed. I'm actually a big fan of the old version because it does work better for those cars, but for pretty much every other car on the planet, it doesn't quite work as well, in my opinion. But thankfully, we've got the older version here today, and so that's going to be interesting for us to watch over tonight, of course. 10 minutes worth of qualifying for all three of these categories. As I mentioned before, a 15-minute race, which really is a bit of a dash. As I mentioned a little bit early on, it's you do have to get everything right early on, as we're in qualifying at the moment. 6 minutes still to go in this one. The guy's just starting a lap at the moment, rather than really getting to the end of any laps just for now. So we'll take a look now and have a look at how these guys are going. As I mentioned, only 10 minutes in qualifying, Cam. It's not that long, and you do get a few more laps around here than you would 2 weeks ago at Spa, for example. But still, it's not all the time in the world.
Absolutely not. It's one of those things. I mean, there's already only 5.5 minutes left, and they're only starting their first lap. So with obviously the RaceRoom Ranked Championship, it's those sprint races. It's the drivers who are able to just come in and set their laps quickly in these sessions, and it goes straight into the race as well. So there's no time to think about anything like that. You just have to come out and perform. And I think that's why the likes of Jovasekov here, obviously, a very top quality driver. We've seen him on all of these special events and things that we've been having throughout the year of 2022 as well. So when you get these people who can just come and perform, they're the ones who generally stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. And this man certainly has been so far. Coming through the left-hander now at turn 9, and then into the chicane, which is a sort of half overtaking opportunity. Not really a great chance because there's not a long straight beforehand. But it is a slow corner that you might use to just dive down the inside of somebody. Jovasekov at the moment just running around into the final couple of corners to possibly set the pace early on in this session. We'll see if he does, just over halfway in this qualifying session now. This is how the circuit is really wildly different to how it was before. You see the wide entry there into the final corner, because you do have to think about it now, and the grass on the outside as well. It does seem a lot narrower than it does in its banked form, does that corner, but much more exciting all at the same time, as Jovasekov does stamp his authority on this session straight away. Even Daniel Parvan not even within a second of him right now. 0.6 of a margin he has early on.
Absolutely. His pointer there actually gets up half a second behind in second place there. So you can see the times actually behind are staying a little bit close between themselves. But as always, Jovasekov just has that little bit of a pace advantage in this qualifying session as the laps start to come in. We see Nej here, and he's currently, as we mentioned earlier, third in the championship. So that is going to be obviously an important one for him to try and stay up there, to try and get in that top 3, because the top 3 in the standings at the end of the season will be getting their way a trophy, an actual physical trophy, which is something that you obviously want to get, because it's not often done in sim racing with drivers all over the world. But let's see what he does as he comes to the line. It's quite a run actually towards the line, and he goes to provisional pole position by 23 thousandths of a second. Good lap there.
Very good lap indeed from the Romanian there. Not one of the higher ranked drivers in terms of the actual rating. He's quite far down outside the top 10. But in terms of the standings, he really has been impressive with that second place 2 weeks ago at Spa. Wasn't able to get on terms with Jovasekov, but he just done it here. 23 thousandths of a second between the two of them. You noticed as well here, Cam, the Jovasekov there, the championship leader, came into the pit lane. So he's decided to go for kind of 2 laps on minimum fuel possible out here, whereas Neg is much more willing to just run around. It looks like he's going to do 2, maybe he'll squeeze a third in, but 2 laps at the very least, just running one after the other, really, rather stay in the rhythm than break that up.
I think this could work for Nedge though, because this is definitely a track where you can get in the rhythm. It's actually quite a flowing track. Obviously, it's a little bit awkward in certain places, but the corners flow one into the other, into the other, into the other. You have to keep up the minimum speed. There are all these long corners, and I think this this could work for him. It just depends, obviously, if he can hold onto the tyres and make sure that he's obviously keeping that speed going on that second lap.
We'll see if he has done here. As I mentioned, one of only 2 drivers to manage to get themselves into the 48 so far, and there really is nothing to choose between himself and Ilya Drovosekov, as there has been over the last couple of weeks anyway. Through the final couple of corners now, you're going to see the wide entry once more, using as much as that curb on the left-hand side before that entry, and then just try and keep the speed up as much as possible. Over 150 kilometers an hour, and maybe a few too many kilometers an hour through that final corner. He goes off the road. He realizes that it's not going to be his day, and so he returns to the pits for the final time, as Drovosekov now is going to be watched by his Romanian rival here from the pit lane, and he'll feel helpless, will Neg, to stop Drovosekov from taking another pole. He's already taken 1/10 of a second out of his rival in the first sector of this lap, and you expect to see this man on the pole position once again by the end of it.
Absolutely, this is looking to be a very good lap as you come across the second sector split, coming towards his braking zone. He's even up again through the second sector, this time just by 0.5, so it's getting very close indeed as he tries to cut over all of the inside curb there before we come towards this final corner, where you want to take so much speed to take it out onto the straight. But of course, we know the sort of corner in the middle of it is the older style. You've got to be keeping it as flat as you can as the session comes to an end, but he will be able to finish the lap, I think.
He will indeed be able to finish the lap. Look, you can just see through the grid at the moment the driver coming across the line. Is Drovosekov going to go to the front? He certainly is. It is the championship leader on pole once again, trying to make it 3 wins out of 3. Ilya Drovosekov is on the pole position ahead of Mihai Nej. Then we've got Corentin, point 2 of France, before Fache, Kremers and Orban rounding out your first 3 rows of the grid. As I mentioned, a couple of seconds remain in this qualifying session at the moment, although everybody now has come back to the pit lane, other than David Vasquez, who's a long way down in 22nd position. Might be able to improve from that lowly place you can see there, the Spaniard, but doesn't look like it really, as the session does finally come to an end now. You can see the lower half of the grid, but once again, it is our championship leader, Ilya Drovosekov, and 2-time race winner, of course, Ilya Drovosekov, on the pole once again. Question is, can he be challenged by Nej, point 2, Fache, any of them?
They just need to get ahead of him in this first part of the race. It's obviously a shorter race for these guys to get past compared to what we're going to see later in the GT4 Trophy and the GT3 Pro Series as well. Only 15 minutes, so get ahead and you might have a chance. But it looks like Nej is certainly sort of on the in the ballpark of the speed that he needs to be. So let's see if he can make a bit of a move here in the opening lap.
Absolutely, he was certainly the closest man to our pole sitter in these opening moments in that 10-minute qualifying session that resulted in the Swiss man getting that pole position. 15 minutes on the clock then as the red lights come on for the BMW M235i Rookie Cup here at Zandvoort. It's round 3 of the RaceRoom Ranked Championship, and everybody is eagerly anticipating those lights going out, and they do now. It's Drovosekov with the inside line going towards the first turn, which is going to be all important, of course, as they switch back on themselves on the very narrow run down towards turn number 1. They all squeeze in. It looks like there's a bit of contact a little bit further down, but Drovosekov gets off to a good start. Nej in second with point 2, and Kremers getting himself up into 4th, although it's a side-by-side battle with Fache through turn 2, into the grass, and through turn 3 again, even more contact. Very narrow, and there's some contact even more. Around goes Fache from 4th place on the grid. He's going to be 24th at the end of the first sector.
Certainly some contact here in that first part of the lap. Daniel Parvan really aggressive there, getting up the inside of Rocus to be and Guibert up the inside of turn number 1. We're seeing just in the background of the shot the time as well. So certainly the guys getting their elbows out because they know the nature of this track. You want that track position when the cars are so close together. But at the front, it is Drovosekov getting a couple of car lengths that he needs at the front. But Nej is certainly not letting him get away just yet.
Not for the moment. through turn 9 they go, and towards that chicane once again. There's another yellow flag for Sturbinski by the looks of things. You can see him drop him down the order, as well as Locking might have been involved. It was certainly a midfield scrap that was going on, but Sturbinski has indeed come out the worst of them on that one. Bozo as well is quite a way off the back of the field, although I believe he might have started from the pit lane or just had a really bad start. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, he's already a long way off. Drovasikov makes his way around to complete the first lap. It's a dream start for him. He's already got a few car lengths over the field.
He certainly has. Almost a second. Well, it's just come down actually through the final corner. It's gone down to about 6.5, 7 tenths of a second. But look at all the cars running wide in the background. I think that was Orban there trying to get a bit of a run on Rokas to B as we come down towards turn number 1. Almost 3 wide in the background. The cars trying to think about getting side by side. Can be. Hold on the inside line into this very back turn number 1. He just about can, but Orban is not giving up just yet.
No, running a little bit wide there, and Burkhardt might decide that there's a chance, but doesn't decide to go for it through turn 2. It did dawn on me there, Cam. Well, we had 24 cars rumbling through this first sector. That Zandvoort is actually really quite more narrow than I remember it. I don't know why I didn't remember that, but these cars all of a sudden look huge, and this circuit all of a sudden looks very, very small. I dread to think what it's going to be like when we get those wider GT3 cars a little bit later on. This first lap was really chaotic and a lot of contact.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why there was a lot of repaving work and widening and such, and banking added to this track to try and make it more flowing and less old school and narrow. But for sure, in this version now we got here, it just makes it that little bit more tricky for the drivers, but that more rewarding when you get it right as we come into this right-handed sort of kinking braking zone. Orban thinking about getting up the inside of the B, and now onto this corner once again, coming onto the back straight. He's not trying to look just yet, but he has, because the B's gone wide. He's missed the apex, and Orban is going to come up the inside to take that position for 7th place even.
Yeah, one of the easier overtakes that Orban should be able to go through, but might get the speed down this straight and into the chicane. There's going to be all elbows out. Inside line for De B. He's going to turn to the outside for the left-handed part. Oh, not much space given by either driver. A bit of side-to-side contact, and Rokas De B does hang on to 7th place. Burkhardt almost flashing the lights at both of them as if to say, what on earth are you doing? And I want to get through here, but he hasn't been able to. Maybe a look down the inside of the final turn. He's going to go for this. He's going to push Orban really wide and pick a line, and might fancy his chances here as well. Look at him steaming through on the outside with a nicer run. Orban might all of a sudden be in a bit of trouble here. They're all on the defensive line going in towards the first turn. Pick a line and picks the outside line. Orban decides to try and get his position back with a really late braking manoeuvre around the outside. The bank's turn 1, as it always has been, looking to set himself up for the inside of this little left-hander, but it's outside again, I'm afraid, for turn 2. And so Burkhardt is going to make his way up to 8th place.
And that is not the best lap for Orban. He thought he was going to be up there to a 7th position, and instead it's gone all the way down as he gets a bit wiggly there on the exit as we come up the hill. And for his benefit, to pick a line, and not quite close enough to make the move there. But certainly there's those 3 cars right behind him in case he wants to make a move as we come back to the leader, Drovasekov. The lead's come down by a few tenths, so Neg and Ponto are really starting to close him in and not let him get away, which is what we like to see.
Absolutely. I mean, this is unfamiliar territory, certainly for us. We haven't really seen Drovasekov getting challenged quite as much in this season. Obviously, Neg didn't have neither of these two actually behind. Neg or Pointo didn't have a great start to this season at the Nürburgring. We saw Pointo qualify quite well, I think, but I seem to remember him having an issue and falling a little bit further back. Scored outside the top 10 in the end. Did recover a little bit at Spa with a slightly better result, but even then it wasn't up to where you'd expect from him. He is a very strong driver, especially in this particular category, and he's been around RaceRoom for 7 years now, so he does know what he's doing. But at the moment, just watching on from behind in this 3rd place, it's the Romanian applying all the pressure, and it's a nice run through the final corner. He really does push the limit through there, as we saw even over the limit in qualifying. He did it just enough there, shows the nose to the inside and has a half look. It's a proper look. Down the inside, he barges his way through, although the outside line is not too bad around turn 1, so Drovasekov is going to be able to retake that lead. That was a late one from Negs, but he just managed to make his way down the inside there and nearly hold it.
And this is the first time we're properly seeing Drovsekov have to fight and battle for the lead later on in the race, which is great. These guys are really, doing a three-way battle now. 3 guys within 1 second for the lead of this race in the Rookie Cup, which is amazing. Drovsekov there, able to hold on though that time. I was a bit surprised by that. I thought Nick was going to be able to get that position stuck, but maybe he needs to try again on this lap. The issue is that element of surprise is gone now, and Drovsekov will know how to defend.
He will. He won't be leaving that inside line open at turn 1 again, or indeed at turn 8, because he had a look there as well. Did the Romanian, didn't quite make his way down the inside, and he's going to stay behind just for the moment. But these 3 certainly getting away from the rest of the field. We've got a battle with Kremers, Parvan and Guibert at the moment in that battle for 4th right now. And so they're just kind of almost shooting themselves in the foot by doing that and getting moving further and further away from these guys, but the wrong direction, I'm afraid, as Kremers does indeed get overtaken by Parvan, or at least challenged into the chicane at turn 10 and 11. Guibert might decide he wants a part of the action as well, with the outside line going towards the penultimate turn. Oh my goodness, Parvan wanted to squeeze in line there and there wasn't quite room for him.
Oh, these guys getting so close between themselves as this three-way battle now continues through the final corner, nose to tail, out through onto that curb, getting the flashing lights on as well, trying to put the driver ahead as come towards this braking zone of turn number 1. Kremers just able to hold on once again, but these guys starting to get so close because they know now there's just about 7 minutes left and the laps are ticking down.
It really is a dash in this Rookie Cup. Not much time to hang about and wait for your opportunity. You've just got to make one almost. And there we go. Parvan tried to make one with a little bit of a bump to the rear end of Kremers. Oh, he gets shoved out wide out of turn 3. He's not going to be very pleased with that, but Parvan has made his way through. And now Guibert, just been behind, will look to make his way through as well. Although this is a very fast, very flowing section of the track, and it's hard to make your way through. Looking to the inside, but there's no space there.
And this is actually quite an important battle for the championship as well. Parvan and Kremers literally 1 point between them in that place championship fight for 5th place as well. Actually, Parvan goes a little bit too much over the curb there. Kremers dives it down the inside. He's going to be able to make that position, not without a bit of contact though, as Parvan tries to get the switch back once again, pushes himself back past, and this is going to continue once again as Guibert goes to the outside of both of these. Remember, he's second in the championship as well, and these guys really want to get ahead of them because it's just so close between them.
It is close between Parvan and Kremers, but you're right, Guibert, second in this championship, wants to get through and wants to gain points. Oh, these two making so much contact. Paul off the road for Parvan. It was going to happen eventually. Guibert's going to clean the both of them. Parvan squeezes Guibert into the outside. Now they're 3 wide going towards the penultimate turn. And more contact between the two, more shoulder barging, elbows out, and we're nearly 3 wide into the final corner. Parvan gets shoved out wide into the grass a little bit, although he's got a nicer line through the final turn, and we'll be looking for the cutback on Kremers, who's looking to get through on Guibert. He's almost looking down the pit lane to try and make his way through. This battle is quite unbelievable. Inside line for Guibert, who's going to get hit here by Parvan, you would imagine nearly. Instead, it's Kremers who feels the effects on the outside line. Parvan does make his way through back to 5th position. Guibert is into 4th finally, but you can't imagine he's going to stay there for long. Although Parvan has been disqualified, or just immediately, I presume, for an incident limit, quite possibly. I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, they've been having a lot of contact, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the incident limit, and it does seem to be confirmed actually to us. Then that's pretty crazy. Only in the first 10 minutes of the race. I think that's the first time we've seen that this season, but they have been bumping and barging, and they will quickly get up to, I believe it's a 40 limit that they've got, but obviously that's quite easy to get to with the amount of contact that we've been seeing, which is good to see though, that they are being penalised for that, because it was all of them involved. It wasn't just him being the recipient of that. But Guibert, what a lap he did on the previous one, getting past 2 of his rivals up into that 4th place. That could be quite important for him, keeping inside that top 3 in the championship at the end of the day. But Kremers now, for him with that championship fight, he's obviously going to be getting a lot of points on Parvan now, but that being said, he's still going to want to get this 4th place back.
Yeah, there was way too much contact between everybody there, and Parvan, I'm afraid, had been taken out the race due to the incident limits down the inside. Oh, very nearly down the inside for Kremers there on Guibert. I believe, by the way, Guibert has done a lot of real-life racing, by the way, over the last kind of decade or so. actually racing at the biggest 24-hour races in the world, like Le Mans, etc. I believe he's been there twice. Unless there's two Enzo Guibert racing drivers in the world, anyway. Side by side between the two of them, he's not having much fun at the moment, I can tell you that, because Kremers is back throwing him again through these final couple of corners. Maybe he'll have another dive to the inside line, but this battle for fourth has been so physical. I know these cars can take it, but it's almost been a little bit too much at times between the three of them and now the two of them.
It is a bit the nature of the track, but for sure you do want to be seeing some clean racing. But that last 2 laps was really a lot of contact. And one thing that's it's quite good to see. Obviously, the top 3 have got away a little bit, but just look at this sort of train of cars from P5 downwards. They really stay close together all the way to 22nd or so, and it's just it's good to see just how close these cars have been able to stay in the opening 12 minutes of the race. And Guibert now just sort of losing the way a little bit, a few car lengths over, half a second now off the back of Kremers, so he's going to be wanting to come back with just a couple of laps to go.
Not a lot of time at all, just less than 3 minutes. He's been under real pressure this race, almost like we haven't seen so far at all this season. Current time point 2 is just falling off the pace at the moment. I do wonder if has he got few concerns maybe, or is he just dropping off the pace a little bit? Not entirely sure, but certainly these two are not. Drovosek has not been. I don't recall him being under this kind of pressure in the previous races. Spa, he had a fairly, I don't say easy time of it, but he wasn't challenged as much as this. Nürburgring maybe he was challenged a little bit more than on that occasion 2 weeks ago, but here Negs is putting up the biggest kind of challenge to Drovosekov's lead in this championship that we've seen all season long, although maybe a little bit too much out that final corner. He just like pushing the boundary through there. Yeah, absolutely. It was even in I think it was in the Nürburgring, it's only sort of a few seconds, whereas I was saying in Spa it was comfortable, whereas today I mean, he had one proper go, but he hasn't been able to really, we haven't seen him really been able to get back up behind. But it's good to see that it's literally just a couple of tenths here and there. They have dropped Pointo though. I wonder if there was a mistake there though for the Frenchman to drop off just that amount of seconds. But yeah, for sure, he's doing such a good job to keep up, because we have seen how dominant Drovosekov is. So it's good that he hasn't got sort of demotivated by that. He's actually getting better as the season goes on. Yeah, and as things stand, he would actually draw level with Guibert for second in the championship. This championship margin would extend to 32 points, with only 40 on the table for Ilya Drovosekov. So the Romanian really does need to overtake here if he wants a shot at this title still. But still, it's not a bad day for him at all. And Guibert's under pressure of his own at the moment. Rokas to be, and we've got Burkhardt here as well, just hounding it though. Guides, Orban, Ferraris and Emmanuel Lopez as well from Argentina, just in the background there, you can see. So yeah, there's a lot of cars ready to take Enzo Guibert's place, if indeed they are able to. Burkhardt very close to having a look on the inside of turn 9 there, but Rokas to be was setting himself up for a run into turn 10, where Guibert is going to have to do a little bit of defending from the Dutchman, although it's not to be this time around, if you don't mind the pun, to the final chicane. There is going to be one more lap, only seconds remaining, but they are going to get round for one more.
They certainly are getting really down. Always in the background. That Burkhardt going way too hard. He's going to join back on and make contact, but fortunately, that's Guides and Orban managing to get past. But Burkhardt, massive mistake. He's not going to have enough time to get back in position, although he has, because Orban's gone wide at the penultimate corner. Yeah, that was a very, very wayward moment, you could say, for Burkhardt. He loses out to Guedes, but Orban couldn't take advantage, and he actually went off at the penultimate corner. You just saw it there, and now Ferraris is down his inside. Lopez trying to take advantage of the both of them. He's not going to make it 3 wide, is he? He certainly is, diving down with absolutely no fear at all. 2 positions in 1 corner. That was impressive. It certainly is. These guys, he's really having a show for us as we now onto that final lap here at Zandvoort. Even, just to fight for these slightly lower midfield positions, they're really going for it. Orban hasn't had the race that he wanted. He's dropped down multiple times over the course of the race, but that is just how it goes. Look how close these cars are as we come towards sector 2 for the final lap. It is indeed the final lap of this race, and Ilya Drovosekov has finally just put a little bit of a margin into Mihai Nej, who's really challenged him today. The biggest challenge we've seen to the Ballas Esports drivers
rain in this championship so far, but he is going to weather the storm, and it looks like he's going to take victory, his third of the season. It looks like Nej is going to take his second podium finish of the season, his second, and his second in 2 weeks, if you don't mind all the twos, all at once there. Corrington Pointo on the bottom step of the podium as well. He's in a bit of a world of his own, you can see in the background. But here is the Swiss man, absolutely dominant, one of the best on this service at the moment. He's going to take this one home through the final corner. And at Zandvoort in the BMW M2 355 Rookie Cup, it's going to be Ilya Drovasekov once again, 3 for 3 in this championship. Surely it's going to be going to him now as we go back to Enzo Guibert, who's under all kinds of pressure from Rokas to be over this 5th position through the final corner. Everybody giving it everything, and it's going to be a drag race to the line. Rokas to be is going to get down his inside towards the line. It's a photo finish between the two, but Guibert just about holds on to 5th place. He will be level now with Mihai Nej in the championship. They'll both be second, but they'll be a whopping 32 points behind Ilya Drovasekov.
Now, what a race that was. Just look how close the times are in that midfield. Tenths of a second between the drivers. Sort of 5-10 seconds really separating that midfield bunch that we were looking at the end. It's great to see just how close the racing has been here in this Rookie Cup at Zandvoort. And I'm sure that's just going to continue as we get to the GT4s and the GT3s a bit later. Bozo there just trying to weave across the line, hitting the barrier. But yeah, that was a very entertaining race, and I can't wait to see how this goes. However, Drovasekov just been not necessarily dominant, but certainly showing his speed once again.
He certainly did. The top three staying as you were from qualifying, but it was Kremers getting up ahead of Guibert for 4th, who also made up gains of his own. Rokas to be couldn't quite jump into the top 5 right at the end there, with Guedes, Burkhardt, Lopez and Ferraris rounding out your top 10 from that race. Everybody moving forward quite a lot, apart from if your name's Orban, I'm afraid. He dropped down earlier as well, with Fachier as well. We finished 14th in the end, did recover well, because he was 23rd at the end of the third turn, after getting spun around early on in this race. A few others who dropped down. We saw Sturbinski as well on the opening lap, and of course Daniel Parvan, who got disqualified from that race here in the Rookie Cup. Well, these guys have entertained us greatly through Zandvoort, which is traditionally not a circuit that sees great racing. We certainly saw some there. Ilya Drovasekov, you can see the man who takes home the victory. All he needs now, Cam, to seal this championship in 2 weeks' time, is a 17th place, and you'd say that is going to be fairly achievable.
I would certainly say that he's probably going to be on the podium no matter what you would assume. But you can never write anything in sim racing. You just saw how close Nej was there as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some good battles there a little bit later on in a couple of weeks' time at Watkins Glen as well. So yeah, great opening to this evening of broadcast, but still 2 to go. Absolutely,
and it starts, of course, with the GT4 Trophy, which will be coming up with qualifying happening in a couple of minutes' time. Of course, this is a balance of performance category across the 7 cars that are available in this class. We've got the Audi, BMW, KTM, Lotus, Mercedes and 2 Porsches as well, all with balance of performance, of course. It's been really the championship of the Lotuses so far, Cam. I don't know what the plural is.
Lotai?
Lotai? Don't know. But it's certainly been their season so far over the opening half. It's been Alexander Grumbau's season as well.
Yeah, it has. The Lotus is an interesting one because it has had the most in terms of the weight and the restriction. In fact, it's the only car now that has less than 100% power as well. So that's quite an interesting one. And it has the most weight at 25 kilos, but it's still a force to be reckoned with. And I guess it's one thing as well, if a driver's comfortable in the sort of the balance and the feel of the car, that helps quite a lot. But that being said, we have seen some other drivers, in Audis, Mercedes, challenging as well, so it's not to say that is completely dominant, but for sure, yeah, the Lotai have been doing well.
They have indeed. We've got a 12-point lead here in the championship because we see a 1 and 2 over the opening 2 rounds that have been exactly the same. We saw a great battle between Gunvald and Enzo Filippo, as well. There in that Spa race that came down, of course, to the final bus stop chicane. Nico Sonel and Marius Zabadir are in 3rd place, kind of tied together They're at 23 points adrift. Then we've got Ian Piper rounding out the top 5 in that championship. Zabdir was 3rd at Spa, Sonel at the Nürburgring. Then the other 2 were 4th on the other occasions in those races. So we have seen a very recognisable top 4. We'll see if anybody can break into it today. Ian Piper probably the most likely candidate to actually do that, having finished in the top 6 on 2 occasions so far this season. But let's really see, he's in the Mercedes after all, and that may not be a particular advantage for him in this one particularly. But I can tell you, looking at the drivers at the moment in the GT4 category, who is available and whatever, we do have Enzo Filippo, we do have Ian Piper, we do have Alexander Grunwald, we've got Zabdir, etc. All the big names are here. Nico Surnell as well, surprisingly far down the rating list, is also here as well. And we're just starting qualifying now as well. There is Piper, getting ready to go at GT4 racing here once again. And I'm very much looking forward to it after what we just saw.
Absolutely. The first race of the evening was great. At least GT4s have been an awesome set of races at Spa and Nürburgring to start the championship as well. It's been an awesome sight to see all these different manufacturers be so close together as well, and the cars seem to battle and race really cleanly, so hopefully we can see that continue in these cars. Obviously a bit faster than the M235i's as well, so yeah, a little bit higher top speeds and cornering speeds and things like that. Actually, the drivers are weaving, trying to get some space, but they've already got only 8 minutes left, so some of these drivers might miss out if they're going this slow.
They are going very slowly. I always find that drivers go needlessly slowly through the final few corners, but anyway, that's just me. We're looking at Enzo Filippo, who managed to get himself out front of everybody here. He managed to win the race out of your pit garage, and he's out there first for Virtual Drivers by TX3. 25 years of age now, from Normandy in France, a bit up north, and he's first man out there on the circuit here at Zandvoort, with the other Avoras just behind. I think that is Grunwald actually just second in line as well. The championship leaders certainly know what they're doing, and that all starts from the qualifying session, getting out there first and not being involved in that scrum, going down towards those final couple of corners.
Because of the way the qualifying session works, I didn't really mention it in the first one, but when the session hits 0, that is it finished. You don't get to finish your laps, you have to finish it within those minutes, but obviously with that being a 10-minute session, that's not very long at all. So these guys going out first might even be able to sneak in that extra lap or so. We'll have to see how that one works out, but of course Filippo being the first one to set these times is going to be setting the purple sectors, and this is really going to be the benchmark for what we're going to see, but he's really getting that rear a bit loose.
Well, I find this every time we go on board with an Avora, it does seem to be a little bit on the edge, but for 20 minutes it's absolutely fine to drive it for. If you were doing it for hours on end, it might become trouble, but yeah, just for a 20-minute race like this, you can hang the rear out, and there you can see the challenge of the final corner coming into effect. Over the line for the first time. What's the benchmark going to be from Filippo? It's going to be a 44. We just look in there. Grunwald couldn't quite match him. 3/10 away. It looks like we're going to see one of those sessions where you go back to the pit lane and then try again, at least in the case of the Frenchman we're on board with at the moment. As we've seen so far this season, though, nobody can get anywhere near either of them.
Absolutely not. There's quite a big gap as Piper there goes up into 3rd place, but a second, 1.1 seconds off. Zabdir just a 10th behind him as well, as Deek there gets up into 3rd place, a second off, as Cernal though 6/10 off into that 3rd place. So the fast guys really starting to show their speed, but for sure they've got a bit of a jump at the front there.
Yeah, they have. It's a good performance actually from Deek there. I know he's in a Lotus, but not one of the drivers we've seen really pushing a top 5 so far. I was wondering who is going to actually jump into that top 5 instead of the usual 5 we see, with Piper and Zabdir just behind there. And it looks like it might be him. We've got Martien there, Lapanik, who's been strong, Huitzelman and Courtois, Courtois in the top 10. Not the goalkeeper, but I did stall there for a second because he's not from Belgium, so I thought, well, do I say that differently? But no, he's also French, so it's fine. But yeah, just making the top 10 at the moment, as you can see. I can't see any others actually out there at the moment. I wonder why that is. It's not suited to here particularly. I'm not entirely sure, but the reason I bring it up is because he's doing so well in it, but he's the only one. That's the only thing that's puzzling me, really.
Yeah, I guess driver preference is a big thing with these cars as well, because they all have slightly different characteristics of obviously the weight distribution. Where the engine is as well is quite a big thing in some of these different cars as well, and that affects how they drive. And some different cars affects some different driving styles as well. So I do think that comes into it to quite a big factor as well, not just with the BOP.
See there, Pfeiffer just moving up ever so slightly. Jan Courtois as well into 6th position. There we go aboard with our championship leader and two-time race winner Alexander Grunwald. He has defended, especially the Spa race, he defended from the front. He absolutely did not let Filippo get down the inside of him and get through on him at any point in that race, and that is how he won it. But he looks like he's just going a little bit wide there. It's more like setting himself up for one final lap here. He's not going to have a chance for two. I don't. Well, he's going to squeeze two in maybe. If he can get to the line at 3:30, he might. 3:30 to go. I mean, not the time. At 3:30 to go, then he might be able to. No, he's not going to do that, is he? So, one lap really. It's all resting on this for the Austrian here. He's put a lot of pressure on himself here.
Yeah, it certainly has. Second on the grid is a nice place to be, but for sure he wants to show Filippo that he's not 3/10 off the pace. At least he wants to get a bit closer with this final lap for him. As you say, just over 3 minutes to go. This will be the only one that he gets to. I know it's a little bit wide there through turn number 1 as well, and into turn number 2. Let's see how much he's really going to hang the rear end out. As you say, it's a little bit of a characteristic of the car, but if you do it too much, then obviously you're just losing speed because you're not going in a straight line as fast as you can.
Yeah, there is a limit to it, of course. Filippo will be doing the same thing somewhere else around the course at the moment. He is out there on circuit, but this is the final lap time for Grunwald here. He's going to want to get into those 44s and in front of his rival. The two of them been 1 and 2 in the first 2 races of this championship. Well, they're going to be 1 and 2 again. Well, they certainly do look like the class of the field, unless Nico Sonnell around the course can also do something about that, as he comes across one of the Audis at the moment. Just Grunwald, thankfully, getting out the way of him just at the moment. That was Frank Schmidt, I think, just on the outside line. 15th place for the German at the moment. Grunwald, though, out of turn 9 and towards the chicane. He's going to have to absolutely nail these final 4 corners, and at the moment he's still not getting on terms with Filippo.
But he might be able to improve his own time, though, which could just be a bit of a confidence boost coming into the race. But for sure, he needs to really nail this final sector, which, to be honest, is only 2 corners. He's nailed the first one, I think, pretty well. Can he get a good exit, though, out of this all-important final sequence of corners through the final kink as well, towards the line? Half a tenth it was at the second sector line. That was a pretty clean final sector, but it's a long run to the line. Is he going to be able to get up to first? Is he going to stay in second? No, it looks like second place. And still, he actually lost a bit of time there in the final sector because he's still just under 3/10 off.
Oh, and it might not have mattered anyway. Look at Enzo Filippo at the moment, going purple in the first sector, just about half a tenth down in the second. He's not got much time to make that back either, but he might not have to. Nico Sonnell at the moment is out there on the circuit, but is he going any quicker at the moment is the question. Is he going 7/10 quicker? I very much doubt it. So Filippo comes up towards the line, and while it probably won't be another improvement, it will be pole for him. It's not quite enough. It's a 45.0, and so surely pole position as well. As here's Nico Sonnell, 3 temps down already on the leader. Those two are in a league of their own.
Yeah, at least this KTM crossroad looks great, though.
It does.
Even if he's not going to go onto the front row of the grid, potentially, he's going to have a really good second sector here. He's been pretty clean, but those corners are so important. And as we come down to the end of this straight, we will get that second sector split. Can he get himself on the front row, or is third place going to be where he's making an improvement? But I don't know if he's going to quite get to the line. We might just have enough time, but it's going to be close.
I think he is going to get there in time. Let's have a look. 20 seconds still remaining for the KTM driver. This guy certainly isn't. Whoever this is isn't going to get to the line, I'm afraid. But is Sonnell going to get there in time to improve on this one? Seconds ticking down. He is still out there. Is he improving? Well, he's not improving. He just comes over the line in time. Don't know if he improved, but it certainly wasn't by enough, as the time does run out now. It's going to be third place for Nico Sonnell. So he's not on the front row, but as Cam said, he is looking good in the KTM. one of the best selectors, but I know I said this last time I was on here at the Nürburgring, but RaceRoom really does have the best selection of GT4s in sim racing, and it's great to see them all out here today. But it's an all Lotus front row once again, Cam. 1 and 2, Grunwald and Filippo cannot leave each other alone. I presume they're not going to leave each other alone for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, and they had a little bit of a hard fight in Spa a couple of weeks ago as well. Some aggressive driving from the both of them, during certain parts of the race as well, especially up into Lake Carmen, as you say, into that final sequence as well on the final lap. So they know how to race and how to battle. But it's Grunwald who's come out on top in the opening couple of races. So Filippo really needs to start getting some points ahead, because if he loses more points today, then that's going to be a big job in Watkins Glen. Just 12 points between them going into this third race of 4.
My question is, what happens if Filippo wins both races and Grunwald finishes second twice? Then what do you do? Because there's no countback or anything. It's a bit of a nightmare. So but anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We might not have to, because it depends what all happens over the next 20 minutes of this race. It's the RaceRoom Ranked Championship for round 3. It's the circuit Zandvoort, and it's the GT4 Trophy. Enzo Filippo versus Alexander Grunwald on the front row as they wait for those lights to go out, and they do now. All Lotus front row, and already Grunwald having to defend from those behind, because Filippo has got a great run. Sonel, a disaster though. He's going backwards straight away with Deke and Piper, going through on him already. He dives down the inside into turn 1 to regain some of that lost ground. Zabdir and Courtois feeling the effects of that on the outside line. It's side by side for third, with Ian Piper making his way through onto the podium places, but it's around for one of the cars. It's Zabdir. Zabdir has gone round from a very high place. He's gone down. He's already into 24th at only the second turn.
Once again, another car spinning on the opening couple of corners. We saw it in the Rookie Cup, and we saw it again in the GT4 Trophy. So these guys knowing that they need to push it on that opening lap, and possibly just a little bit too much with 2 cars going around in the opening 2 races. Pipe having a good start up into third, and Cernal managing to get back as Grunwald there, Filippo I should say, going a little bit wide. Grunwald going down the inside there, taking the lead. A bit of contact between the two, as we saw again, as Piper comes up into second place.
Oh, and there's contact behind with Dirk, and also we've got a car around. It's Lepanik in the Mercedes who's gone around. Speaking of Mercedes, Ian Piper's managed to find his way into second. Alexander Grunwald there with maximum aggression. It's only lap 1, but he absolutely gave Filippo absolutely no space to exist on the outside there at all. He went down the inside at turn 8, and he wasn't taking no for an answer. As we see side by side further back in the chicane, this is even more chaotic than we saw in the first race of the day.
These guys are going crazy. You see another car there in the background. I think that's Gra. Arthur Gra having a bit of a wiggle there as well. So these guys just, going a bit crazy. They need to calm it down a little bit, because we did see in that previous race a car getting DQ'd for incident limits, which is obviously a lot to do with the contact as 2 cars go off wide in the final corner.
I think, was that Huysman maybe, or was that a little bit further back? I think it might have been. There's the 2 BMWs now going side by side towards turn 1. Filippo getting all kinds of out of shape through turn 1 there as Nico Sonel tries to make his way through. Alexander Grunwald has indeed got himself a half-second lead, and Filippo looks a little bit rattled by this one. I must be honest, he's gone down to third. I have to say, not a particular fan of Grunwald's overtake through turn 8. I know I spoke about it a couple of moments ago, but it was so aggressive, and I saw a lot of aggressive driving from him, particularly at Spa as well. I know it's been successful for him so far, but there was no space for Filippo on the outside.
Yeah, certainly a huge send down the inside, and very aggressive, as you say. Filippo experienced that, probably saw it coming off. He had the wiggle through this specific corner as well. It really opens up the braking zone. Cerno actually now dives down this side. Filippo manages to hold on to it this time around. Doesn't go so wide as he did on the previous time with Grunwald, but I think, he's not going to be too pleased with that, especially as it ended up him losing the position to Piper as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Piper he actually got the lead. That was how off track he went. So yeah, there we are. Meanwhile, further back we see a battle going into the chicane. This is more where the Audis and BMWs have found themselves throughout this championship, really, and Porsches as well. With Van Hippeland, just in 6th place. A great start from Sarah Van Hippeland to get up into that, knocking on the door at least to the top 5 position in that Porsche, the highest placed and only Porsche in the field right now. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3. It's not for these guys up in front, but Ian Pfeiffer on the big defensive now from Filippo. Outside line, his best lap of his race so far, of course, on lap 2 last time around. Not a move, though, into turn number 1, and the longer this goes on, the better it is for Grunwald up in front, who's just going to run away and get a 1 second lead already.
Oh, there goes a bit wide. Sparks flies. He goes over the curve. Filippo, though, getting... Oh, he actually got a good exit off turn 3, but it was almost too good, hitting the back a little bit off Pfeiffer. That stopped his momentum. As we come up the hill now, Pfeiffer will be knowing this is going to be a great result for him if he can hold on to it in this Mercedes. Grunwald is going up the way, so this is really his fight at this moment in time, but Filippo's got to be able to find a place to get through and not really throw it away and making too much contact or a spin in the process.
Yeah, it's a nice line through 7 there, but not really a run to make a move. You don't often see moves through here at turn 8. The only reason Grunwald was able to do that is because there was a mistake from the race leader and pole sitter, of course, the race leader at the time, and the pole sitter, Enzo Filippo. Well, through turn 9. Is there a run off here for the Lotus to be able to dive down the inside of this Mercedes? It's going to be a big job for Filippo either way if he wants to win this race, because even if he gets through right now, closing a nearly 2-second margin on the leader is going to be nearly impossible based on what we've seen so far in this championship.
This is, yeah, big for the championship potentially. And Pfeiffer, I mean, he doesn't care about the championship in terms of these two guys' position. He is fighting for himself because he knows he's in a pretty decent position in 5th place at this moment in time as well. And he can get himself into 3rd with 12 points ahead of Cernal as well. So certainly he wants to be able to get to the best position that he can, and this is, I mean, it's working out well for him. He's able to hold on at this moment in time, and Filippo hasn't been able to find a way to really start attacking.
Not really, as we see outside lap for Thomas Martien, and that might be too far off, although the banking's going to save him round the outside of the BMW, the best placed BMW in this race so far, and through into 8th position. He goes there just behind Russell, actually, in that 7th position. Best place Audi, and a big improvement on the qualifying place for that car there. So great job done there as they go through the S's now, down and uphill once again, rounding outside for Dick, who dropped down on lap 1, of course, about outside the top 11, and could be even further down if that went a bit further wrong. They managed to get it off the grass and back onto the road again.
Wow, that was huge, because obviously he was had the left wheels on going into a right-handed corner, so the loaded wheels, but managing still to get it into the corner, so fair play for that. And also, as you mentioned, that's a really great recovery from him to be so far down and also really be in this battle, because look at the sort of train of cars here, able to work his way up through these cars. It's not the easiest thing to do, as Lino now in 13th place, trying to get on the back of the Audi, in front of him of Schmidt there, coming down this back straight. He's going to get a run, not so much. We have seen a couple of dives here, as we see Dick there down the inside, having a bit of a look. And I don't think he's going to be quite able to get past Huisman, but certainly just going side by side in the X now towards the final corner. Yeah,
he's made a good run actually, and round the outside, really nicely done. Just a slight brush on the South African, but he does make his way through and back inside the top 10 for Dig there. So he is over the line again and into the top 10. Down the inside for Filippo. He knows that it's almost now or never, but he's gone too deep into turn 1. Ian Pfeiffer all too happy to go back down his inside and make his way back into 2nd place. He is holding on well here, but Filippo is starting, you can see desperation almost creeping in.
Yeah, he needs to get past this if he wants to have a bit of a challenge. Still 12 minutes left though, so certainly enough time if he can get past, and he's got some speed to get on Grunwald, but he's, I'm sure, just getting a little bit frustrated, because even finishing in 2nd place would put him in a better points position coming into the final race should Grunwald have a bit of an issue. So these points are going to be crucial for him. And I mean, Pfeiffer, as we said before, he's just fighting for his own position. He did well there. He saw it coming down the inside, managed to make himself get to the apex as Filippo, even with the banking, just rode up and couldn't keep it down. So fair play for Pfeiffer there.
Yeah, nice driving with your head screwed on, I would say, and getting yourself back through again. He's going to have to go all over again. Over 2 seconds now, though, and we're approaching half distance. Alexander Grunwald is going to be very pleased with this situation. I feel even if Filippo gets through at turn 1 on this occasion, I can't see him catching him.
Yeah, it's a bit too far, I would say, in terms of just how close the pace is between them as well. But even just that position is going to be important for him. But what he needs to do is not make sure that he throws it away, and still make sure that he's going to finish on the podium at a minimum. While these guys behind us, we come back to Cernil, who's holding on for this 4th position, but Courtois is getting very close behind him in another Lotus Evora.
Certainly is. Filippo's got another chance here as well. You can just see going for the bottom of your screen. He's going to do it again, is he? No, not quite. It makes Pfeiffer break late this time around, and no move made as Courtois is making a move into 4th place for Jan Courtois there. And Nico Sonner is struggling in this race. Really nice qualifying from that KTM, getting 3rd, but already dropping 2 places and not looking particularly strong right now. We've got Van Vipland and also Russell behind in the slightly less favourable, you could argue, Porsche and particularly the Audi as well, which Russell is pedalling really well at the moment. So Sonell looking in trouble in this race ever so slightly.
Absolutely, just needs to be making sure that he's not really dropping down too many positions, still in a favourable position in the championship. But if this goes downhill, as you say, there's sort of 3 drivers behind that can really take advantage of this, and that is not what you want to be doing, because that is just losing points hand over fist by that point, and that part of the standings, and therefore going to really be challenging themselves coming in towards the final race in Watkins Glen. So yeah, hopefully Sonner there for his sake can hold on to that one. And talking of holding on, Pfeiffer, he's actually now got a bit of a gap, so he's doing a very good job here in 2nd place.
He has got a little bit of a gap, and I do feel like he struggles in this final sector, because I saw this similar gap, maybe a little bit less, but I saw a similar gap this time last lap, and then he still got challenged into turn number 1 almost. He was looking down the inside with Filippo, wasn't quite willing to commit as he was 2 laps ago. It's not a great exit off the penultimate corner there, and he can't really get it turned in quite as nicely to the final turn either, I'm afraid. So there's going to be no challenge towards turn number 1, you wouldn't imagine, as the gap extends towards 3 seconds now for Alexander Grunwald, looking to take 3 wins out of 3. Is it going to be him once again, as we see Sonell struggling even still? Sarah Van Vipland has got now through, and Russell is trying to make his way through in the Audi. Can he just make his way through? Not quite into turn 2, but Sonell struggling, really struggling. I know we mentioned this last lap, but it's still happening, and I'm not entirely sure why this KTM is so much weaker in the race than it was in that qualifying session.
As Russell side by side up the hill manages to get past as well, just with a bit of a better exit, as Filippo trying it on the outside in Skyflag. That is not what you often see, because that is a very fast corner and a little bit banked as well, which is not the easiest part, because it sort of pinches you on the exit if you do hold it around the outside. So he's starting to try everything at different parts of the track, staying close now as you come up towards the inside, but you see the corners just open up so much to where the apex is. You can dive it down the inside, but this time around I think what he's doing is trying to slow down Pfeiffer before we get to that all-important straight. But even then, coming towards the chicane, having to think about it, having a look down the inside, but not quite enough. As I said, I think he's just trying to get Pfeiffer off the line to have an even nicer move down towards turn 1.
Yeah, he's really challenging now. You can see he's having such a strong lap. He's on the outside going towards the penultimate corner. Pfeiffer does give him the room. He's got a compromised line. There might be a move into the final corner. Not quite. Through the final turn, they go properly. And it's a nice run through here for Pfeiffer again. The Mercedes does seem strong through that slightly medium to high speed corner. And Filippo, all of a sudden, he's not close enough to make this dive at turn number 1, unless he really does dive bomb. And he won't, because Pfeiffer is waiting for it now. That's the other issue. Nothing that Filippo can actually do now will surprise Pfeiffer, because he's been there for so long. He's looking every which way into turn 2, makes Pfeiffer defend again into this corner. He'll only defend again into turn 3, because this corner does lend itself well to that. Oh, he's pushing hard and too hard. Filippo into the wall, and he'll have to really recover now to even challenge for second.
Got to be careful. He makes more mistakes like that. Courtois behind him is really starting to close in there in the other sort of Lotus Elise version. But for Filippo there in turn 3, just going way too wide, sliding up the bank, and actually really sort of ruining his chances for that second place, because he's now going to have to chase him down, and that's just going to lose him valuable laps. He was getting in a good rhythm there, good momentum there, putting Pfeiffer under loads of pressure, but now Pfeiffer, the pressure's off, and he can breathe for at least a few laps.
Oh yeah, how many laps have we got left though? How much time has he got left to come back at this one? Across the line with about 5.5 minutes to go, maybe a bit more. Where is that going to leave us in terms of laps remaining? I think there could still be 4 laps to go here, so there might still be time for Filippo to gain back to second place. And you'd have to say, in terms of, in the context of the championship, he has to get second here, because it's the difference between 18 points behind into the final race and 22 points behind. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but both are a lot, so you need every point you can get at that distance behind.
It's starting to get a little bit difficult when you talk about, in the 20s, as you say. You just need to have a really difficult race for Grunwald, which is, looking how dominant he's been over the course of the first 2.5 races so far, you just know he's got to be at least in that first or second position. So that's not going to be enough for him to lose out on those points, as we see Cernel struggling once again. Martien getting very close there once again in towards turn number 1 at 8th position at this moment. So you've been saying, Cernel, maybe just that KTM doesn't quite have the race pace, the race balance that it showed in qualifying.
Yeah, it's always that balance in these races. It's almost harder to get that balance than you would see in a longer race. If this race went on for ages, like an hour or so, then obviously you would tilt it a lot more towards the race. But how much qualifying pace / race pace do you really want in a race of this distance? Sonner at the moment has really struggled for race pace. Thomas Martien is right behind him now through turns 7 and 8. The 4th place Lotus Evora in the order, a few less maybe up towards the front than we've seen in previous weeks, but it's still most certainly the car to have, with 3 in the top 4. Could get them all on the podium with a real implosion for Ian Piper in the final laps here. Got another yellow flag out in sector 2. I think it's for Diak actually. For Diak here in now 13th. Continues to drop down, although he's got going again in 13th position. Not a great day for him, I'm afraid. Not a great day also for Zabdir as well, who's really not recovered from that incident. The 22nd. I wonder if he's got a bit of damage from that one. We've certainly got to change top 5 from what we saw in previous weeks, with Sonel and Zabdir out of it for the first time.
Always a Grunwald there, just sliding the rear once again, but it's working out for him. And yeah, you're right, there's a couple of different names up towards the front, which is good to see. But I also think this track sort of helps that a little bit. It's a bit of a funky track, and one, you really need to get the feeling, get the rhythm going in your driving. And if you have confidence to push in these corners, especially these long corners, you've got to have the confidence with the balance of the car. You can certainly stand out just that little bit longer and a little bit further towards the front. But Grunwald there over 5 seconds now, as Piper's still holding on, but that gap has come down as Filippo's getting close once again.
He is, but are we going to see a very similar situation to what we've seen over the last 17 minutes of this race? Only 3 to go now, and 2 laps you would imagine at the line. But it's been the same answer for Enzo Filippo, who has struggled to get through on Ian Piper. Both of these two, of course, searching for points today. Piper began the day in 5th, might well jump up to 3rd, with Sonel and Zabdir in front of him having particularly disappointing days. Although won't jump ahead of Filippo whether he finishes in front of him or not, because of a 22-point deficit coming into today. Piper also not going to be in title contention at the end of this either. I don't believe, anyway. No, I don't believe so, based on this result right now. But that won't matter to him in the immediate future, because he's got this Lotus crawling all over the back of him once more. We start the penultimate lap of this race, but he just seems to be so strong through this final corner. He has made a bit of a mistake there, dropping his wheels onto the grass. Is there an opening now for Enzo Filippo? Oh, he was looking to the inside. The Mercedes shut the door. It's going to have to be outside line for the virtual drivers by a TX3 driver. It's banked though, of course, so you can make your way around, but he was just too deep into that corner. You can make your way around the outside through turn 1, but not if you go that high up.
Piper's putting his car in all the right places at this moment in time, defending. This is where Filippo went too wide a couple of laps ago, but this time he keeps it on the track, and that's going to be a good run. He's getting the sort of slingshot effect up the hill, but as we saw him earlier, going on the outside of Sky Flag isn't the way that he wants to get past. So he needs to work his way to run towards either the back straight or the main straight. This time around, getting so close though. As we now come down the hill, Piper's holding on, and he's doing such a good job of it after that really aggressive first lap.
Yeah, it was indeed. 6 seconds now up to the leader, and a few seconds back to those behind as well. These two can really fight it out between themselves as Piper goes wide through turn 8. He realises his mistake, and he realises exactly what Filippo is going to do next. Go down the inside at turn 9, and he wasn't allowed to. He was allowed to get a better run, of course, though, towards the final chicane, although that's not going to be enough for a move on the Mercedes by the looks of things. He's going to have to stay behind one more time. Final lap coming up. Is there going to be a way through?
It's so difficult to work out, because Piper, his defending has been so good, because he's also managing to get the best exits, although this is a little bit too tight though on that penultimate corner. Fortunately for these guys, it's not easy flat through this final kink, so that just helps with the momentum shift. Filippo always loses just the extra half a car length, but now coming to the first corner, is Piper going to be able to hold on?
Well, he's going to be under pressure once more. Final lap, here we go. Inside line for the Mercedes, outside for the Lotus again. Is he going to be too high up though for Filippo? No, he decides to keep it a little bit narrower this time, but he wasn't as far alongside. Now he looks to the inside of turn 2. He can't do it there. Piper's going to have the inside for 3 as well, as he's done every single time. It's like watching a replay. The Mercedes continues on up front, but he's a lot closer to Filippo than he'd probably like. As they dip downhill and towards the very fast section of this track, Filippo's going to try everything now.
He certainly is. These guys really starting to drop off Grunwald as well, with the way that they are just battling so hard. Final lap of the race, and Piper once again, he's got his car on the apex of the corners. He's got his car in the position that he needs to hold on, but he's just got a few more braking zones. Can Filippo dive it down the inside like Piper did on that first lap? No, he can't, so the opportunities are going, and Piper is doing so well.
He is putting his car in all the right places once again, and that being inside line pretty much everywhere. Filippo struggling and hanging the rear out anywhere he can to try and get through. It's the best run he's had all race. Here through at turn 9. If he can get round the outside at 10, he might be able to stick his nose inside at 11. Will he be able to do it? No. Piper makes sure, because he absolutely knew about that. And so he defends once more through the left into the final couple of corners they go. Piper on the defensive once more. He's almost down the white line. Filippo again outside line. They're letting everybody behind catch them, but it doesn't really matter, and it certainly doesn't matter to this man. Alexander Grunwald's going to come over the line for his 3rd victory in 3 races in the GT4 Trophy. Ian Piper, with some great defending, holds off Enzo Filippo. Over the line they go. That's your podium. Courtois, Van Fipland with a top 5. Russell, Sonel and Martien are going to come across the line very close to all together in the background. It was a great fight for second, but Ian Piper showing how you defend.
That was amazing driving from the pair of them, pushing themselves to the absolute limits. We're getting multiple side-by-sides to the line, as it looks like Ornelas is there going to be able to hold on. Sadler holds on from Pipert as well as Gomez there and Palachek. So all these guys starting to fight on this final lap, and it just seems, as you say, that final corner really actually changed the way of the driving and the racing as we came towards this first corner, and I think it really helped the likes of Piper hold on there, because Filippo couldn't stay close enough. But yeah, Piper, the way he was defending, all the right places, and that is all you can do around a track like this.
Absolutely. Grunwald takes the win ahead of Piper and Filippo, and Courtois with 3 Frenchmen in the top 4 having a great day there. Sarah Van Fipland gets into the top 5 in the only Porsche in that field. It's Russell, Sonel, Martien, Peel Shifter, and then Huisamen rounding out your top 10 for the GT4 Trophy. It's a 3rd win in 3 for Alexander Grunwald there, who extends his championship lead to 22 points now. All he needs to do at the next race is finish in 8th place or better, and he will be crowned champion of the GT4 Trophy. I have to say though, Cam, I found his defending at Spa aggressive at best, and he's in essence won this race with what I would call a remarkably questionable move.
Yeah, it wasn't the prettiest move, that is for sure, which is obviously a little bit disappointing, but for sure he certainly goes for those aggressive moves. He tries to make something happen, and for that it is certainly entertaining, but a little bit more room, a little bit more respectful room would be nice to see in this final race in a couple of weeks' time at Watkins Glen. But for sure, I mean, that's obviously just the nature of his driving. He likes to to have the more aggressive side, and it's worked out because at the moment he's leading the championship.
He is. And Ian Piper showing us how it should be done, actually. It was a great defence from him. Obviously, we can say that the fact that Mercedes is quite big, and the fact that this track is quite narrow, it's difficult to overtake, obviously that helped him, but it was almost a masterclass from Piper. We saw fantastic defending from him.
Absolutely. I mean, it was textbook what he was doing, especially the way that this track is. There's so many corners that there's not really a straight before it. There's more of a curve, a kink, and he was always covering off the line in that kink perfectly as he came towards the braking zone. And that is just obviously the way that you got to do it, because first of all you block off the dive down the inside, then you also get back to a pretty decent racing line, so you have a good exit as well. And it was just all coming together, and it worked out perfectly. So that is a great display if you want to learn from a experienced driver such as Ian.
Let's take a quick look and preview the GT3 Pro Series then, shall we? Because that is coming up in just a few moments' time. I don't think qualifying has just started yet. Oh, maybe it has. But they're not doing anything particularly important. So we'll talk about the championship as things stand, because it is Max Pfeiffer who's currently leading. Not a relation to Ian Pfeiffer, by the way. The two of them have come from different... Well, they could be, I suppose, but they come from different countries, so I found it unlikely. We've got Axel Vermeulen in second place. Only 7 points separate those two, by the way. And Luciano Wittwert is only 10 points behind. Those three remarkably close. However, I don't believe Luciano Wittwert is on the grid for this race. He wasn't in the entry list, and I don't see any reason why it would change from then until now. It's not a case of he hasn't made the cut for the gold split, because of course we've got the 24 best drivers. Then the next 24 for silver, then the next 24 for bronze. You get the idea. He won't have missed that split here, Cam, but he likely just can't attend, and that is a real shame.
Yeah, it certainly is a good driver to have on the grid. Obviously, one that's really sort of been towards the front as well. So that's a bit of a shame, because the amount of points that he's going to lose also pretty much puts him out of contention as well. But yeah, he's certainly not on the grid today, as you're saying.
Ilya Drubasikov has taken a break not taking a break from driving, but he's sitting back after driving and winning to tell us that Luciano Wittwert has another race to do right now, and not this one. So thanks for that, Ilya. But yes, he's not going to be attending here today, I'm afraid. It is going to be between this man and Axel Vermeulen, you'd imagine. Only 7 points separate the two of them. That is an extremely exciting prospect with these two races here remaining. Obviously, anybody from behind could get themselves involved, of course, but at the moment it does seem to be between these two. Vermeulen was particularly impressive, I thought, at Spa, at the Nürburgring, of course, where he won the race. On home turf, he did struggle a little bit more, but it was still a fourth place. Max Pfeiffer has got a second and a first to his name so far. So we'll see, really, where these two end up after the 30-minute race here at Zandvoort here today. For the moment, Max Pfeiffer sets the pace, and by some margin.
Yeah, that is a big gap. 0.8 of a second. Orner very close to Mackenberg, therefore second and third as it stands, and Noj in fourth place. So yeah, once again, it's very tight in that sort of midfield range. You see Straitmans and Ray even, just being so close. But for some reason, there's always, in each championship, there's always these one or two drivers at the front that seem to be putting on a great show. We're still obviously waiting for the likes of Vermeulen and co to set laps and everything, so we'll see how they do. And interestingly, Vermeulen switching chassis as well for this race, so just trying to do something a little bit different to get to the front.
Is that even allowed? I didn't know you could do that.
I'm pretty sure he was in an Audi before, and he looks like he's in a Ferrari today, so I guess so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we might be informed if we're just misremembering. Oh, it is allowed. Oh, there we are. We just haven't seen a lot of it so far in this championship. I guess people just go with what they're comfortable with, and that obviously doesn't change within a 2-week period normally. But clearly, he's gone down a different route as Vermeulen and decided to go for what he believes, anyway, that he can extract the most performance out of, maybe rather than what he's most comfortable with.
I guess this track maybe just doesn't suit the Audi as such, something like that. We have mentioned before about the sort of Audi being so on the nose that it's fast, but it's also a bit sketchy. And here, there's so many long, faster corners. If you don't have the confidence with that, maybe taking slightly more, stable car. And there's, from memory, there's a decent amount of Ferraris and stuff on the grid as well. So certainly a popular choice, as it's obviously been, I believe, a pretty recent entry to the game as well, as Alexandra there coming around the final corner. But we jump to Sebastian Ray up in 7th place.
Yeah, the DTM version of the Ferrari, at least that AlphaTauri livery that you just saw there, is a recent addition, obviously from 2021. A livery that Lewis McGlade continues to convince me that I don't like, but or accuse me of not liking. I don't know why. But
AlphaTauri, I think it's all right.
No, I do as well. But he accuses me of not liking it, and I like it, so I don't know what. Anyway, he's I can't remember which race it was, but there was somebody using it. It might have been Bathurst or Nürburgring. The two of them came in pretty quick succession here on the RaceRoom YouTube channel, he accused me of not liking it. But anyway, it's a story for another day. Just a couple of attempts of a second though between Mercedes and Ferrari at the front of the field. Pfeiffer versus Vermeulen. You get the feeling, we've said this almost at the start of every race, the championship leader, if they win today, really does make life very easy for themselves in the final race. Vermeulen, for me, really does have to at least beat Pfeiffer, I suppose, here today and close that championship margin. If he can close it to below 6 points, which is the margin between first and second in terms of points, then that would really help him out, because it basically means winner takes all.
It's always good when it's a winners takes all situation like that, as Ortner there goes up into 3rd place. Sebastian Ray has jumped ahead of Marvin Mackenberg as well, as some drivers starting to set their laps, starting to get a bit closer, but for sure the top two still have a bit of a gap. But just look how close behind it is, just a 10th separating 5th place down to, well, really 10th and a half down to 10th place as well. So 5 drivers within a 10th there. It's pretty crazy.
It is. We've often seen actually the midfield battles in these races have been more interesting, arguably, than the leading ones. We saw a nice battle up front in the Rookie Cup of our first race of the day. We just see a nice battle for second in the GT4 Trophy here today as well. But for the most part, the battles have been in the midfield, while the real front runners have been doing their stuff, as Alex Mosin gets himself into 3rd place in that McLaren. 5 different manufacturers, in the top 5. We have not spoken about balance of performance here in this particular race. There is balance of performance, but we didn't have time to say it all to you. It's complicated, but it's working well by the looks of it.
I mean, it certainly is. Yeah, you've got difference in Vermeulen there goes to the top ahead of Pfeiffer there in that Ferrari as well. So yeah, 3-4 different managers, 5 in the top 5 as well, looking really good for a nice balanced even race, which is what we like to see. And then often comes down to the driver's skill, which at the end of the day is what we want to see. But it's also nice in the GT3s, GT4s that you get a bit of a variety on the grid, and it's a bit of a show. You're not just looking after different liveries; you can see the different characteristics of the cars as well.
Absolutely. There's just over a minute to go for Georg Ortner here to try and get himself up towards the front. Vermeulen just having his nose in front. The two of them in pit lane at the moment, actually, are the top 2. So that might be the order they start this race as they go over the line. Or a few of them go over the line at least once more. Mosin and Ortner, the first of those who can still improve. Ortner is going to stay where he is by the looks of things. That's the end of his session. But what about Alex Mosin for Balance Esports, who've had some success today, of course, with Grunwald already over the line for the McLaren now. And where's it going to be? Is it going to be any closer? No, unfortunately not. He's 8 tenths away indeed by the end of this session. So Vermeulen looks like he's going to take this pole position. By the way, here, Cam, we've had a bit of information in from the YouTube chat again. A bit of pronunciation, people teaching us basically how to speak French, well, not French, but saying Pfeiffer's name. We've been including the P. Forget about it. Apparently, we're supposed to say Pfeiffer. Apparently, so there we are. I'll take that into account and try and remember that, because yeah, want to get these guys right. But yeah. We haven't been, so sorry about that. But yeah, just going to be ignoring the P for Max Pfeiffer from now on. He's on the front row though, alongside his rival Vermeulen. The two of them are going to have a great fight, I feel, in this race. Less than a tenth of a second, but separating them in that qualifying session, it does bode well.
It does indeed, and obviously slightly longer race for these guys, half an hour, so they know that they have a bit more opportunity to make their moves, and also a bit longer to hold on if you do an Ian Pfeiffer in the first race as well. But hopefully Max Pfeiffer is going to be able to probably challenge Vermeulen. We saw last time out though, obviously Vermeulen is stoppable. And obviously didn't even finish second on that day either, with Wittberg getting second. So of course it's going to be a great race here, and I just can't wait to see what these guys can do, see how these GT3s handle around here. Is that final turn going to be an important factor for how these guys battle down towards turn number one as well? So yeah, looking very good for a nice race today.
It is. We're rewiring our brains a little bit there. Max Pfeiffer there from the eastern part of Germany, on the right hand side of your screen, alongside Axel Vermeulen on the front row of this grid. A few more to grid up in the background there, but yeah, we're set to go racing for the penultimate time in the GT3 Pro Series. It's the RaceRoom Ranked Championship round 3 here at Circuit Zandvoort, and it's going to be Axel Vermeulen versus Max Pfeiffer on the front row of the grid. Alex Moysen and Georg Ortner on the second row together as we get underway. It's Ferrari versus Mercedes. It's a great start for Pfeiffer by the looks of things. Outside line into turn 1 though, he's always a long way round. Can Vermeulen hold him off? The two of them, aggression into turn 1. Neither of them want to give it up, and they both go skating up the racetrack, but Vermeulen looks like he's held on ahead of Pfeiffer. Moysen just behind in the McLaren, the 1, 2 and 3 single file, but it's side by side for 4th as Sven Mackenberg tries to take that position off of the BMW of Georg Ortner. They run single file though just in behind as well. We're off to a little bit of a cleaner start, especially up front, although it looks like there's been a 4-car incident further back.
Yeah, and it certainly has. There's a number of drivers, Alexandra Senna, Kovacs, all dropping down the field quite a lot as well. So there's definitely been a couple of drivers going for a spin, which is disappointing to see. There's 3 races in a row, but this first sector is so difficult when the guys are fighting for all these positions. And now coming towards this is a huge corner in the GT4 Trophy, but Vermeulen holds on as Pfeiffer right behind him is getting close and closer, but Vermeulen managing somehow to hold on through these first couple of sectors. But look how close the guys are behind. This isn't going to be an easy fight for him.
It is not at all. 1, 2, 3 running very close indeed. Georg Ortner not too far behind either as the battle for 5th sort of rages on, including both Mackenberg brothers. Sven there in the Bentley on the defensive from Sebastian Rear, and then we've got Nash and the other Mackenberg side by side as well. Between, I think that is actually Marvin Mackenberg under a bit of pressure into the penultimate corner, although he holds on from the McLaren into turn 13. Out over the line once again into turn 1. A bit of weaving around for the Ferrari, but nothing doing into turn number 1, and they go single file into the second lap.
They absolutely do. But these guys just staying so close, as we are, we've come to expect over the course. There's some side-by-side action a little bit further back with Marvin Mackenberg there, side-by-side coming in towards turn 2 and turn 3 there, managing to hold on this position with Hoyter on the outside of him. It looks like a bit of side-by-side is going to continue up the hill, but Mackenberg manages to hold on, and that is just slowing down with Stratemans in behind, and Kado as well.
Yeah, there's quite a few looking to get involved. The uppermost of the Corvettes, actually, yeah, you say Leonel Cadu, who's a strong driver, of course, but outside the top 10 at the moment. Has competed in the Cooper Sim Racing Series when that was on a little bit of time ago, and he's obviously competed in the first 2 rounds here as well in decent form, where he's actually ended up in the championship here in this 6th place. I thought he was around there. And yeah, he's knocking on the door of that kind of position again. Although, as you say, the Corvettes do look like they are lacking a little bit of pace. All of them outside the top 10. One man who isn't lacking pace, though, is Max Pfeiffer, trying to get himself through into first place. Axel Vermaelen on the inside line to the penultimate turn. And he's going to hold on, but he's coming under pressure.
He certainly is. Pfeiffer, look how close. Bit of a dive there into the final kink. Once again, not easy to keep anyone near flat out. You've got to be a little bit more stable on the throttle. Now Vermaelen getting towards the inside of turn number 1. Is he going to be able to hold on? Is he going to be a bit of a dive? No, not quite enough. But he goes wide though. And Pfeiffer gets a run down the inside. This will also be the inside towards turn number 2. That is going to be an important move if he can make it stick. And he can. Vermaelen down into second place.
Oh, wow. Pfeiffer there just had to show the nose, and that's all it took for Vermaelen to get put off, and he was off out of the racing line, and the Mercedes went straight through there. That's people sometimes wonder, why on earth do you show the nose on the inside into corners, because it just never works. Well, sometimes you can put your opponent off and get a very easy position. There was a little bit of rubbing going down towards turn 2 there that they did Pfeiffer did have to just nudge past, but he did, in the end, get his way through. And what can Vermaelen do about that now? Obviously, he knows how to win races, doing so at the Nürburgring. But can he get back on terms with Pfeiffer here? At least stay with him for the moment, because he does look the weaker of the two in these opening 5 minutes.
Yeah, he certainly is, and Mosin on the back as well. Vermaelen needs to make sure he's not dropping down this field even further. Orna is not too far behind in 4th place as well, so this is an important part of the race for Vermaelen. He doesn't want to be losing too much time, but it seems like he is able to hold on in that 2nd place for now, which is good. Oh, but though, getting too wiggly out of the final corner, and that's going to lose him time, losing a car length or so. But fortunately for him, Mosin not getting the best exit either, but that just leaves Pfeiffer another day coming towards turn 1.
Not a good corner at all there for Vermaelen. Really out of shape through the final turn, or the penultimate turn I should say, as looking up the inside is Straightman's there into turn 1, but he won't be making that move. I think that was Gentleman getting himself down the inside of Georgiev as well into turn 1, making his way through, but there's battles going on all over this circuit. It is difficult to pass here at Zandvoort. We've noted that in the past, and that might be the undoing in the end of Vermaelen up front, but these guys in the midfield, certainly a lot of positional changes going on, and a side-by-side battle for 20th. That groups all over, up and down this order right now. Doesn't seem to have been, well, I know it has been a little bit more difficult maybe than the other circuits on this calendar, but it hasn't been impossible to overtake here tonight, fortunately.
No, it hasn't, and it's good to see that in these GT3 cars you can, as a nudge, they're going a little bit wide. He's going to be under attack there in the background. Can he hold on this inside run? McLaren and Hoyt on the outside, getting very close, but not able to carry the speed around the outside. But now onto this back straight. Look at that, bumper to bumper, push drafting almost as he comes to this braking zone. Once again, a bit of a short, sharp straight, but Hoyt around the outside. Can he keep it down the inside, all over the curb, all over the grass between the two of these guys? And I think he's managed to get past. He has nudged down into 9th.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Ferraris, who are really struggling, or Straightmans as well, I suppose, maybe through these final couple of corners, to see if Nodge can maybe just to improve a little bit, or indeed try and get back through, I should say. Go on board with the McLaren. A nice exit. You see just peering through that rear view camera, although it's still going to be a look to the inside for the Hungarian. He's not going to make that move into the first turn, and so he will stay behind just for the moment. Group staying very much together, probably the closest of those, or the furthest, the highest running close group, I should say, if that makes sense, because the leaders are sort of putting a bit of distance into one another now. 9/10 of a second between Pfeiffer and Vermaelen. You've got to wonder, has Pfeiffer just maybe prioritised that little bit of race pace maybe over that qualifying edge that Vermaelen just had by a few hundredths of a second?
So close between these guys, and to be honest, I think it's great to see that obviously the battles are continuing as the as the race is going on. Obviously, there's been a slightly longer half-an-hour race there's opportunity for the drivers to have a bit of a sit around and think about that. But it's certainly staying close, as you can see, between some of these drivers, especially in that midfield battle, getting really close between Nojin and Straterman's there for 9th and 10th place as well. So yeah, I think this is going to continue all the way throughout the last 20 odd minutes of this race as well. And I don't think any of these positions are settled for now.
Nope. They certainly aren't. There's a long race, of course, as well, especially compared to some of the others that we've had today. As we go to Lionel Cadu, just outside the top 10. As I mentioned before, the Corvette maybe not the car to have around here. Georgiev struggling outside the top 10 as well as Margaret has as well in the 18th place. He'll just show the nose a little bit, look to the inside, but once again, it is difficult for Norris to make his way back through again. And Hoyt, who managed to make his way into 8th position a couple of laps ago, but nearly 1/3 into this, nearly 10 minutes in, it's starting to get more difficult. As this race goes on, it does get more difficult to overtake, really, because you kind of get figured out by these drivers. You kind of realise what you're doing, and the element of surprise in these groups is becoming less surprising with every minute.
Indeed, and that's where the smarter drivers come out. You have to find the way past where it almost seems like there isn't one around this track, but there are plenty of opportunities. You just have to get the run, have to not make a mistake at a certain point, and when you see the driver ahead of you make the mistake, that's when you have to pounce, even if it's a slightly awkward part of the track, like one of these corners in this sector 2 part of the track. But you have to be there to capitalize for sure. If you can't make something happen yourself by staying very close between these guys. So any little mistake, and obviously they're able to make the overtake stick, because you seem to lose a lot of momentum around here.
Yeah, you do. If you get pushed out of line, well, we see this at any circuit where like this, really. If you get pushed out of line once, then you can find yourself in trouble, and you see it quite a lot in GT3 racing as well. When the real trains start to form in some of the races, see it quite a lot. Most notably Barcelona in my head, anyway. When you get pushed out wide, all of a sudden, you do find yourself in a bit of trouble, just getting steamrolled by everybody. As Alex Mosin goes a little bit wide through turn 1, just pushing the limits through that corner, and Georg Ortner finds himself up towards the front once again. He's probably streaming right now as well, as you can see on that little caption there. He probably is streaming his point of view, but don't go watch it, stay here. But no, yeah, he's a very good driver, of course, very experienced and very well known as well. One of the most well known drivers in the community as well. Looking on course, or well, I'll say on course, looking at challenging for a podium in this race.
And I don't think it's out of reach either. He's sitting behind, but he's been a lot faster today, as than he was in a couple of races that we've seen recently from him, really challenging towards the front. Mosin, good driver so far, but I do think that Ortner is going to be able to challenge this one as we get towards the latter parts of the race. Opportunities will come the way of the Italian in towards this braking zone at the end of the back straight, and it just needs to be slowly working it 10th by 10th to try and get that place. And it's one of those things that if he gets one, he might be able to get another if Vermeulen starts having a few issues.
That's what he'll be hoping for, as the gap increases to nearly 3 seconds at the front of the field. If things were to stay as they are right now, the gap will be 13 points between Pfeiffer and Vermeulen in this championship. Bottas Notch is the next driver in this field here today, who's in the order. I know he's 4th, but Luciano Wittmer, as we've already discussed, is not here today in this race. Notch 15 points adrift coming into today, was he? No, 25, I was right the first time. But he's losing a lot at the moment, and you can see him back here, 9th position, trying his best to get through this McLaren. But I have to say, when he got overtaken, I thought that Hoyt was going to just be able to get away completely, but that has not happened at all. And Nodge all of a sudden looks the stronger as soon as he's got behind the McLaren. It's a strange battle this at the minute.
Yes, it's sort of one of those ones where, sometimes when you're the driver behind you make the overtake, you almost think you're a faster driver, but it certainly stayed very close. And Nodge is certainly coming back, and even Straterman's behind is starting to just think about getting involved in the other AlphaTauri Ferrari as well. We've seen a dive to the inside there, a bit of side-by-side through the apex, but it seems like Nodge can't quite make that one stick. He's thinking about it once again. The next corner, diving it down the inside, but not able to get the position at that moment in time. But what he's doing there is really slowing down Hoyt as we come towards this back straight.
He is, it's allowing Marvin Mackenberg, who got himself free of this group, to get away, along with Sebastian Rear and his brother Sven, who's just up in 5th at the minute. And they're all trying to get away, and they're successfully doing so because of the fighting that's going on between Hoyt, Nodge, Straitmans and Kadu as well. And he's just latching on to the back of these guys as we approach half distance. We come through the final corner. The problem with this final corner is that these GT3s are so aerodynamically advanced that it almost returns to the banked corner that we see nowadays. It's not really much of a corner, and so the ability to get a run off of it is a little bit diminished.
Yeah, the fact that it was so like off throttle and almost a proper corner in the slower categories as well really added an extra element. Obviously these GT3 cars really being able to take extra speed for sure has a little bit of a difference, but I think as well it's just the way that the GT3s are. They're just a lot more stable through all of the corners, and that obviously helps the drivers that little bit more consistent maybe throughout those cars as well. And obviously with the assistance such that they have as well, it just makes it that little bit in quotation marks easier to drive with the driving assist. And that's why the GT3 class is probably the most popular class in all of the world, and even in sim racing it's probably just the one that your average driver just goes for, because they know they can have a nice solid race, but also it gets the high level competition use as well.
Oh, Max Pfeiffer still making use of it at the minute with a nice 3-second lead. Seemingly a lot stronger in this race than he was in qualifying, at least in comparison to Axel Vermeulen, who's not exactly having a bad race, but he is 3 seconds adrift of his closest rival. As I said, 13 points would be the difference if things were to end as they are right now, and that would mean a top 4 would be enough to win. Well, then it would get a bit difficult, but a podium certainly would be good enough for Pfeiffer to take home the title. But the noticeable thing is, we were saying this earlier, Drogosikov only needs a 17th position, I think. Grunwald only needs 8th. Pfeiffer needing a podium. This championship is noticeably closer than the other two.
Definitely, it's going to be, it's going to come down to that final race, especially if it finishes like this with the 1-2. It's just interesting though, the Pfeiffer has a bit more speed than Vermeulen. 3 seconds already, still just under half the race to go, so he potentially can get that towards 5 seconds or so. That's a really big statement before we get to Watkins Glen in a couple of weeks. I have a lot of confidence coming into round 4, winning round 2 and 3, whereas Vermeulen just sort of resting on the hopes of his race win there in the Nürburgring. So yeah, certainly the mindset factor is quite a big thing in these championships.
Yeah, the Belgian is at least having a better time of things than he was 2 weeks ago, where I know he was only 4th, but that still is a loss of 13 points and too many really over a course of this championship. You'll also be a little bit worried about Alex Mosin behind. I know the two of them are not exactly battling at the moment, but 1.5 seconds between them. Gail Gortner is not exactly too far away as well. We look at him now in the BMW. So he's going to be looking over his shoulder with a little bit of fear, is Vermeulen. But for the moment, he is pretty safe, and you can see this shot here down the front straight really says all you need to know about the race situation at the moment. There are car lengths in between these cars at this stage. Balázs Nagy is the next driver really going to be looking to make a move. Oh, and he nearly did there. Almost entirely because of Hoyt's little mistake through turn 1, just running a little bit wide into that corner there, but even then there was still no way through.
And I think he's going to be able to find a way past at some point, but of course it's not a necessary situation that you can control yourself. You do need some other factors to go in. And if Hoyt can hold on the best, the best line that we saw Piper do in the previous race, then that's obviously going to work out for him. Noj staying very close, and this is what he needs to do, and at some point the opportunity will open up and he needs to come and take it with flying colours, as he's trying to there coming into this break. That corner there is actually a very important one. We've seen quite a few overtakes happen there, but also out onto the back straight, just trying to get off a different line, trying to get a bit of a better exit yourself.
Yeah, I have to say I've been a little bit surprised by the availability of moves at turn 8 there and turn 9 as well. Those corners really not used at all for overtaking in Formula 1 for probably obvious reasons, I suppose, but in these cars you can make your way through, and it's arguably been a more fruitful opportunity than we saw down at turn 1, or have seen down at turn 1. You can see here, following Noj, it's almost flat out. The increase of speed almost doesn't change going around this final corner in the GT3s because of the aero they have on them now. So there's going to be very little opportunity to go down the inside here, but through 8 and 9 there have been some nice opportunities if you're feeling brave enough to really dive bomb down the inside.
The if you're brave enough factor there is probably the most important one, because it's not the easiest, and there's a few corners there as well into turn 3. You can really send it down the inside. You've just got to have the car in the right place to do so, and that is really the important factor. These guys, I mean, they're pushing as fast as they can. They're on the limit really of what they can do, and with the current situation of the fuel and tyres, etc. So they know that they are really in the in the prime of their car, and they're so finely balanced between themselves. They're so close on the lap times. It's just every last thousandth of a second. As actually Noj is thinking about it once again, looking towards the inside, but not quite close enough to even get his nose down the inside. Then as we come towards turn 9 as well, he's diving up to the inside once again.
He's
making contact.
He goes around. He just got into the back of Hoyt there, I'm afraid, and he's gone around. He's going to have to rejoin without getting onto the racing line as well. And there he goes, back onto the circuit. Is Brown going to get through as well? The Audi, maybe not into the chicane, although it's not going to be a great run towards here for Noj. He will drop down to 13th position when it all shakes out. That is a real shame. He did try that dive we were talking about at turn 9, but just that little bit of contact when you're already kind of unsettled, you're already on the limit yourself. Getting into contact with another car is just going to push you over the edge, and it did there.
It was right on the dive on the corner into the corner. So as you say, the rear just gets loose by that point. So any touch of the car and it goes for a spin. And the unfortunate part for him is that he loses 10 seconds with that. And I don't know why he's really wiggling there. Probably trying to say to Brown to not battle him. But let's see how that is. Let's see what the pace is between these two guys at this point in the race. I'll have to obviously see on that one, because maybe Noj has just lost a bit of pace with that car, maybe a bit of pace, mentally as well, getting out of the rhythm that he was in. But that's going to be, at least for his championship, losing crucial points.
Yeah, really crucial points, I'm afraid. As we mentioned, 4th place coming into today. I think that would allow, it certainly would allow Alex Mosin to get through on him. Lionel Cadou is going to close in on him. Straightmans as well, Marvin Mackenberg. It's really bad news, and it's worse news, I'm afraid, for Peter Sack. His compatriot, the compatriot of Noj, driving the same livery of car, goes around at the fastest corner on the circuit. Didn't quite see the opening of that, but it was a similar kind of getting into the back of someone in front.
Wow, yeah. It's quite ironic that it's two drivers from the same country in the same car going for a bit of a spin there, and also the car behind him of Domoliki is also in a McLaren that we've seen a little bit further up with Mosin and Wheat as well. So yeah, loads of different liveries looking the same, but different drivers going for spins. And yes, certainly it's getting that point of the race. Well, inside the last 10 minutes now, the drivers obviously maybe their tyres just started to go a bit, and the drivers starting to lose their concentration and rhythm, and that is the important part in these slightly longer races.
It is. As we go back to Max Pfeiffer up front, one man who certainly is in the rhythm at the moment. But yeah, another spin at the fastest point in the circuit. 8 minutes to go, and a full second lead for our championship leader coming into today. And he's going to be, he's going to pad his lead as well going into this this final race. It's going to be between himself and Vermeulen. I don't think anybody else is even going to be involved anymore in terms of mathematics Alex Mosin is in third at the moment, but came into today 36 points adrift anyway, I think. Yes, he did. I'm doubting my maths, but it is 36 points coming in today. He's going to lose 10 here, and so he will move up to third in the championship from fifth. But he will also be out of contention in terms of winning. However, as you mentioned a little bit earlier on, and referenced earlier on, Cam, being on the podium at the end of this championship still very much worth having indeed.
Well, exactly, top three getting the trophy, physical trophy, which is great to see. But there's also the virtual racing points as well for the top 10 in the championship, with 5,000 for position 1 going down to 500 for position 10 as well to be spent within the simulation. So that is great to see. That's obviously a prize for the top 10. But really, that physical trophy as well is just something something you put on your shelf or on your rig, on your desk, to really just show you the success that you can have in sim racing these days. And it's great. Obviously, drivers of all different countries, but the fact that you can actually still have the physical trophy like you would in real life in karting or whatever, that is it's a great addition to the championship.
It is, as Bartos Nodge just managed to get himself up into 12th position ahead of Yoni here. In the BMW, got to ask, Cam, have you got a trophy at home from sim racing or not? Are you successful enough?
Not from sim racing, no. But I used to do karting back in the day, so I've got quite a few from that downstairs, which is nice. But yeah, not from sim racing just yet. I don't believe.
Just yet, as if you still.
Oh,
you plan to? Well, yeah. As if you still drive well enough to be able to do that.
Oh,
drive better than me though. So there
it helps if you when you don't drive currently.
Yes,
we'll get you back on the sim one day.
When I don't, yeah, probably RaceRoom, to be honest. If we're honest, if I'm keeping this same setup, that's the most likely place you'll see me anyway. We'll back up to Sven Mackenberg again, who's in the top 5 position for virtual drivers by TX3 at the moment. Not had a great season. This is a problem with having Sven and Marvin Mackenberg here. It's great to have them both, but it's difficult to remember who did what. Was it Sven who had that rejoin at the exit of Lecom at that Spa race, or was that Marvin? They're driving the same car as well, which doesn't help.
Yes, ironically they are this time and not last time. Considering Sven was lower down in the race, I would say him, but they were both actually quite close.
Fairly low down.
Yeah, it's difficult to remember now. Especially, I'd say one of them swapped cars as well, because they were not both in the pit lane last time. And also, even worse is that this time they're both in the same livery as well, which makes things a little bit harder. But yes, I can't remember exactly. I'm going to say Sven, but I might be wrong.
We're going to put it on him. Okay, that's nice. I don't know. Either way, recovering from all of that, the both of them, whoever it was, and getting up there now. Just a word as well on just while I'm scrolling down the championship standings a little bit on Killian Hood, who's currently in 8th position, just behind Marvin Mackenberg here. Might be able to just see his McLaren in the background, was holding off Bottas Nodge a little bit earlier on. Here he is for Ballast Esports, who are having a nice day. But yeah, the Dutchman has indeed come from, I believe, the silver category in both rounds 1 and 2. Certainly was at round 2. I think he was in the silver category as well in round 1 as well, the silver server. If you don't know what that is, by the way, it's for the next 24 drivers. After these 24, there's a concurrent race going on for the silver server for the next, and you do still score points. So despite I don't believe have been in the gold server yet, Hoyt is still finding himself 15th in the championship with 22.2 points, decimal points, and he's going to be making a big jump up here today once more, certainly ahead of Akin, Markowski as well, Latkowski as well, who's only been here for one race, unfortunately, and yeah, he's going to be making some strides forward in this championship on his, I believe anyway, his first appearance in the gold server. I don't remember him at Spa, don't remember at Nürburgring, but he did win the race in the silver category.
Yes, he to get the 0.2 points as well means he wasn't in the gold category, because basically the points are reduced lower down in the silver and bronze, so then it's one massive table with the silver and bronze included. So as you're explaining, so if you do promote yourself up towards the gold server like he is today, he still carries those points and they're still able, and also in 8th place in the gold server as well. That's going to give him some good points. He might even, if he has a good race in Watkins Glen, might be able to get towards the top 10 in the championship, which would be a great result, and just shows you consistency is the way to go.
It does. As I mentioned, first at the Nürburgring, second at Spa in those silver server races. Looking at some others who might be in here today who have come from the other service, is to look at just the decimal points and work that one out. Unlikely to be getting the whole championship, but as you mentioned, rewards for the top 10 in this one. So it is very much worth plugging on with this at the moment as we go back to some of those lower down in the order. I have to say, Cal, we've had the first two races almost non-stop action, to be honest, especially the BMW race, which is very enjoyable earlier on. This one has looked most like or the most like a Zandvoort race, usually does, than any of the three.
Yes, I guess that's to be expected with the way of the cars, and I think as well, we mentioned time and time again that this midfield is really so close, but of course the top guys just have that little step ahead, as we've seen almost a bit side by side. Brown just thinking about it, having a bit of a dive almost in towards turn number 1, making Yoni have a bit of a defensive line, although actually in hindsight it was actually quite far away, wasn't it? I don't think Brown was really close enough there to be making that move for 13th place. Stays down in 14th with just a lap or two, probably 2 laps to go from where the leader was as well. But yeah, these guys certainly spread out that little bit more than I guess we were expecting, but that is just the way of Zandvoort. It's just the type of corners that it has, and just the difficulty of staying so close to the car ahead. You can definitely overtake, but if you're not quite quick enough, there isn't enough straights for the slipstream to pull you in.
It very much is difficult, as Brown is finding out right now on the back of Christoph Yoni for 13th position. Just in case you're interested, by the way, at home, you can get involved in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship. You need to be pretty decent if you want to get into the GT3 Pro Series, but the Rookie Cup, you don't need any form of you don't need to have a good any limit on reputation, is what I'm trying to say. You do in the Pro Series. You need 80 reputation, and the cut-off point as well, in case you're interested in trying to compare your own rating at home. You'd need about 1400 rating to get into the very low end of the bronze category for this Pro Series race. In terms of the BMW Rookie Cup, you'd need a little bit more actually. You'd probably need up to 1470 to get into the bronze rating. So if you do have that rating and you want to get involved, then you very much can at the final race of this championship at Watkins Glen. And of course, I'm told, although this is not official, actually I won't say that because I don't want to get in trouble. But yes, you can get involved at the final race at Watkins Glen, and we're sure going to see this man there, Max Pfeiffer, has had a very strong day indeed here at Zandvoort. Probably a very enjoyable one as well, with a 5-second lead. He's not had the pressure that certainly Ilya Trubasnikov had earlier on in this race. In this broadcast here tonight in the BMW race. He was very much hounded the entire time. Couldn't be further from Max Pfeiffer's race. He's been comfortably running around on his own, and he's going to take home his second race win in a couple of weeks. Winner last time out at Spa. He's going to be winner again here in the Netherlands. Coming up towards the line, it's Max Pfeiffer who wins at Zandvoort. 2 wins in this season now, and he extends his championship lead over this man. Axel Vermeulen spins across the line, almost in disappointment there. He has a job to do coming up at Watkins Glen in 2 weeks' time. Alex Mosin rounds out the podium with Gail Gorton and Sven Mackenberg in top 5. Sebastian Ree comes over the line ahead of the other Mackenberg in 7th. Hoyt Streitmans are both over the line as well, with Lionel Cadu rounding out your top 10. And Bautas Nodge in the end did lose out on a couple of places due to that spin. He did though get ahead of Bakker, and Yoni and Brown come over the line nose to tail, but in the end not changing positions. It was a comfortable day for Max Pfeiffer in the end, about 5 seconds of a margin, and now he's got a 13-point margin going into Watkins Glen.
And that is certainly able to be spun around, but that is a nice margin, knowing that just following his rival is going to be enough for him. Doesn't need to do anything crazy if they ever get into that situation. And Watkins Glen, I think, is actually going to be quite a nice racetrack, though. So certainly some possibilities to make up positions if you find yourself a little bit further down. But you see there, obviously, Malin -1 and Pfeiffer +1. So he did the job, got into the lead, and then just really ran away with it.
Yeah, the only positional changes inside the top 10 there says all you need to know really about the difficulty of overtaking around here and the difficulty of that race for everybody. Pfeiffer in the end a deserving winner ahead of his rival Vermeulen. Hoyt, Straitmans and Cadou managed to get themselves out into the top 10 from their qualifying positions. I think it was due to Noj dropping down. I think we're going to see a -3 for him in a second. But yes, he finished in 11th, dropping down in the championship, I'm afraid, as Alex Mosen drops or gets himself up into 3rd place ahead of Noj, who's going to be next, and then it's going to be Lionel Cadou, I think, who might just about hold on from Straitmans, although those two are very close in the championship now as well. All of that to figure out, of course, in the next few moments, and here you see a few more positional changes back in the pack, where it was a little bit more of a chaotic race, especially early on, but in the end, those positions were fairly sorted out from fairly far out.
Yeah, they certainly were. But you saw, a few drivers are having a few issues, like Petrashak, for instance, and Noj not having the nicest of days. But that's what happens when we come racing around a track like Zandvoort. It's tight, it's twisty. You've got to take your opportunities. And if you make even just one mistake, you're losing 4, 5, 6 positions. And we saw that a few times. But the 3 races tonight in general were, hard action, hard fighting. And to be honest, just some good entertainment. But for sure, there's a few interesting moves here and there.
Absolutely. That looks like it's going to be it from us here at Zandvoort. Then as we go through and look at our schedule one more time, it's going to be Watkins Glen in a couple of weeks' time. Final word from you, Cam. I guess we've got to preview Watkins Glen, because that is going to be a very interesting finale indeed. Maybe the championships are not quite as close as you'd like them. However, We've had 3 great tracks and great races at all of those tracks so far, so there's no reason to suggest that our only trip to America is going to be any different.
Absolutely not. And Watkins Glen's such a great track as well. Really good choice to finish the season in all 3 categories. It's going to be great. The slipstream up the hill, and then of course the boot section and the main straight as well. Loads of opportunities for overtaking and side-by-side battles here. It's going to be great. And we'll have to find out who wins in a couple of weeks.
We certainly will. Well, here at Zandvoort today, it's been mostly championship leaders padding their lead. Ilya Drovasikov, Alexander Grunwald and Max Pfeiffer have all done that, but it's still going to be an exciting finale at Watkins Glen. Come back in a couple of weeks' time to see if they can hang on. In the meantime, though, here from us, all of us here at RaceRoom, we're going to bid you goodbye. From me, Ewan O'Leary, Cameron Roger, and of course everyone here at RaceRoom. It's goodbye for now.
The outside into the inside of Malmedy. They're so tight once again. It was